Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. Let's discuss what Brahm-Granthi, the first Kundalini block, and that is between Muladhara and Brahm-Nadi. Prime objective of all of us is to be healthy, wealthy, wise and happy being. And the reason for failure is ignorance and lack of the knowledge which we are collecting over a period. Now Akhand gives you the universal consciousness in a new nutshell in divine mathematics of Divyank, and the symbolic representation to talk about 22 by 21 is the first stage of creation, 10 stage development and maturation with which the perfect impeccable wisdom can be known and for the world as such. Now let's understand the applied medical science of the subject which we are going to discuss about. Neuroanatomy of the spinal cord. The end of the spinal cord is called conus medullaris, and it is a tapered cone-shaped structure located at the level of the first or second lumbar vertebrae L1 and L2 in the adults. Extending from conus medullaris is a collection of nerve roots known as cauda equina, which resembles a horse tail. Now, what I am talking about, cauda equina, is what is Brahm-Granthi all about. Now look at this particular picture of lateral picture. You can see the vertebral column and you can see the end of the spinal cord is correspond to L1 and L2 only. And from there the new fibers start, which is called cauda equina. That is what I am talking about as a Brahm-Granthi. Is a block between Muladhara chakra, which is below this, and spinal cord, which has got the central canal. Central canal is Brahm-Granthi. This is Brahm-Granthi, that is Brahm-Nadi, and below is Muladhar chakra. These three are as one connection, where we are going to discuss about how Kundalini rises from Muladhara chakra, breaks this cauda equina, Brahm-Granthi, and enters into the central canal of the spinal cord, which is Brahm-Granthi, and rises to the ventricles of the brain to give us the universal consciousness within, where 8 stages of Patanjali Yoga Sutra go through the 9th of Kundalini to Antar Yoga to give you the perfect wisdom of the self, and then to the higher consciousness. Now the same picture which I have been shown in this particular, you can see the spinal cord on top, you can see the central canal, you can see the nerves, you can see the vertebrae, you can see a coronal aqueduct, and how the things are in the pelvic region. And Muladhara chakra is below this. And as I told you in the beginning, 2 chains of vertebral sympathetic cord, 22 petals are low, ganglion on either side, merged together with the 45 at the bottom. From 28 is a beautiful Divyank situation. But Muladhara is below these particular nerves, is very clear to be understood, because Muladhara is underneath, and between these ventricles of the brain there is a gap, and this is the structure close to that, and unless it passes through, it cannot get into the ventricles and experience, and that is experience which make us a perfectly integrated human being. I know it might be difficult for a common, but unless you experience it, I have experience, I can see, I can relate and bring the modern anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, psychology and the ancient and give you the wisdom which is required. I know it's a difficult, but this is what has brought me to Divyank, and let me share it with. Now I am talking about lumbar puncture, which we all can go through if we need an operation in the pelvic region or below the region. The rest of the body does not have to be anesthetized, and that is the injection given below L1 and L2, as you can see in the picture, and into the spinal fluid which is surrounding the spinal cord, and giving injection into that can deaden the nerves below, and I think that is most important. and this is where it becomes significant, and that block can be removed in living consciousness so that we can have the clear cut impeccable wisdom of the spinal cord and the entire nervous system and the 100 trillion cells can be done perfectly, and that is what Tantra Vidya is all about. Unless until we experience ourselves completely, only then we can experience the world. And what ancient scriptures are saying, the Brahman and human being are identical. Now I am giving another, see, I am a medical doctor. I have been giving injections since 1974 itself, and continuously giving injection, and always felt that we can give an injection which is painless. And to give the painless, I think I have understood how to give painless injections, and ever since that for 50 years I have been trying to tell others how to give painless injections. Now you can see the two types of needles. Quinky is the one which we normally use while giving injections. You can see it is laterally this particular structure. Pencil type, we normally don't use it. But if you use the upper one, there are two ways. Suppose you are going to give a injection into the deltoid region. Fibers go from up down. If the direction of this is to go along the fibers without cutting the muscle fibers, injection will be painless. But if you give it in a standing where muscles get cut, it could, and just by being carefully looking at it and giving the injection, you make it like a pencil and make it painless. And this is what objective of all the people who learn to give injection, who have to give injection, who need to give injection, how to make it painless. I think this is what I've been talking about 50 years, and all my patients who ever get injection, they are satisfied. How do you do it so beautifully, painlessly? And for the sake, I am making it clear. And lumbar puncture also can be done the same way without any difficulty, provided you know how to use needle clearly. Now come to the applied spiritual science of the whole concept of Brahm-Granthi or Kada Equina. Now in this particular picture, I told you, you see the Muladhara chakra right at the bottom, which you have seen in the thumbnail also. And both left and right paravertebral, Ida and Pingala, which unite in the Muladhara chakra, is very clear in my earlier pictures. And this structure of the spinal cord is over that, not underneath. So base could be Muladhara, which I said is a foundation chakra, or the root chakra, or the basic chakra. And these nerves are over. Now Kada equina, as you can see, the fibers which are coming from spinal cord at the end is called Brahm-Granthi. Is the first block between Muladhara chakra and inside the brain itself. I am great how the ancients knew it very well, which I am able to show with medical evidence today. Now this particular energy has to go into the spinal cord right on top, and you can see the line in the middle, which is central canal, and that is central canal which is called Brahm-Nadi. This is Brahm-Granthi, and the whole concept of first stage of creation revolves around this only. Lord Brahma's whole creation is within this particular area. So Brahm-Nadi, Brahm-Granthi and Brahm-Lok, and first stage of creation as Brahmank, all center around this lower pelvic, which can also be called Apana Prana. This is what is responsible for evacuating all the defects of the body, whether in fecal matter or urine or menses or otherwise. Now come to the question. Now I am going to show again about Muladhara chakra to understand what Sat Chakra Nirupana talks about. This is the fourth verse. I am repeating it again. We come to Adhar chakra, the motor chakra. It is attached to the mouth of, and as said, the Sushmana Nadi is the vertebral column, and within that we have Brahma Nadi, Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi, and Brahma Granthi within that. So we are talking about Sushmana Nadi, within that those structures, and Muladhara chakra is below that, is attached to the mouth from the bottom. is placed below the genitals and above the anus. That's the location also very clear about Muladhara chakra. But it is below this particular thing. It has four, that I have shown, four principles and things like that. We are going to see that as such. And this is the structure of Muladhara chakra, which such chakra talk. The sound is lam, which we will discuss when we go to mantras part. But four sounds of Sanskrit language are very clear. That sa starts. Maybe sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da. The sound sa is primarily from Muladhara chakra only. Now in this particular picture I am showing again. You can see the laterally these two vertebral chains and meeting together in ganglion impar. Our coccygeal ganglion is the structure which I am talking about, and four nerves which I am talking about, two chains which go up, you can see, and two which go into left leg and right leg, and this is where it becomes very clear. This is a center which is the connecting center for the sympathetic system completely, but it's a very calm and quite integrated, and two going up throughout the body right up to head, and two down right up to the soul, and make the whole system within the body along with the blessed blood vessels to make us perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. If this system is perfect, we'll have tremendous amount of energy and we'll never have any difficulty at all. They prevent it like a mother, and Kundalini by and large associated with this, and it functions through this primarily. And I think that's a point which I want. People who are into spiritual science, they would have a tendency of abundance of sympathetic hormones, adrenaline, noradrenaline, catecholamines, etc. And they would also have dopamine excess and things, and they all revolve around tyrosine amino acid. That gives you the power, and that is the power which makes you very healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. Without this, you will not be able to focus and be intelligent, intuitive and otherwise. And people who have excess which they cannot control can have panic attacks of tachycardia and things. And to control that, concentration in Muladhara chakra is very, very important. And that is where balance comes from up, down, and that's where the Kundalini sleeps. And that's why the Kundalini has to rise from here and get into the ventricle brain so that it integrates the whole body. Till this system, it has a power, but it cannot be controlled. It can go haywire. Sympathetic, parasympathetic. But if you want the sympathetic and parasympathetic to be balanced throughout the body without any problem, then Kundalini should rise from Muladhara chakra, break this Brahm-Granthi, get into Nadi and to the ventricles, and then we can be a perfect human being. And I'm just trying to explain how I experienced that and how I have done wonderfully very well thereafter. But at no stage I ever got scared. This see the 10 petal stages of Akhand Yoga, the cardiac vena is heated. Now I say, when Kundalini is awakened, rises, it increases a lot of power, it has got helium in it. And that's why I say Kundalini and Aditi are same. When Aditi, helium is in the power, it has got that Atma. When heat increases, movement increases, chakras start increasing more and more, and it's more clockwise movement. When more clockwise movement go, heat is increases. When the heat increases, it warms up the whole aquina, Brahm-Granthi, and then energy can easily flow through that, through this Kundalini can move, which is like an element. But when it starts rising, it becomes like a change. In Kundalini, sleeping Kundalini is 22 by 21, but awakened Kundalini is like 22 by 7, which is a pi. And once the pi, then it starts rising like a thumb and move on. That is what Upanishads are talking about. This is where once it enters the spinal central canal of the spinal cord, it's very effectively, it can move up. And we can do the spiritual education, enlightenment, everything appears only then, because the real knowledge is given by this within the body, which cannot be without any confusion, absolute wisdom. And that will make a perfectly healthy person. and once it comes to the brain, all the 100 trillion cells and all the 22 this gives you the power, and 100 trillion cells will give you integration, and that is Satchitanand, our blissful stage to be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. And that is what I'm trying to explain. Anybody who experiences that will be able to see the divine design within the body and say, I am just identical with the universal consciousness, which I have found. And maybe that's the reason for the first time in history of mankind, I've been able to give world Devyank as such. Now, this is the stage of the ventricles in the brain. We have seen the central canal, how they come up to fourth ventricle, third ventricle, lateral. But Kundalini has to get into third ventricle, not fourth or the lateral. They have the extension otherwise. Once the third ventricle is there, in front of which it should be in front of pineal gland, and pineal gland is got the third eye of Lord Shiva, and that is connected with the occipital region or visual cortex, and Kundalini can be seen by the pineal gland and viewed by the occipital region, and you can see what we normally see, two stages of a structure, length and breadth. But Kundalini, once it's in the ventricle third plane, can be seen by the brain as such in 10 dimensions simultaneously, and that is real enlightenment, and that is exactly what I'm talking about. And it happens in third ventricle. You can see the picture very clearly. And as I can tell you, and as it moves to that, you can see the lower area below Muladhar chakra. You can see Muladhar on top, and all the issues of the lower extremities below the pelvis, below the Muladhar, are represented between the two ventricles, two spheres of the brain, right in the middle. It's not represented outside, it is inside. And once that is structured, it represents earth element completely. It can represent ourselves completely. And that is what seven chakras I'm talking about. And the same layers of Mother Earth, Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Sasatal, Mahatal and Patal can experience, and that will give you perfect control over your physical health, emotional stability and being as such. And once this is done by the Kundalini getting into the ventricle and then enlightening this insight, which cannot be, it does not happen in any other person otherwise. I have experienced the movement of that and in the head simultaneously, and my entire thing is based on my personal experiences. And I can say Sahasrara chakra is actually Muladhara chakra, or the higher consciousness, like you can atmosphere as well as heaven. Now Muladhara chakra, left, right, Ida and Pingala, down Muladhara, you can, and now the vertebral column, you can see 10 chakras. Front are the motor, back is the sensory, in center is the autonomic or involuntary component. I can also say there are 108 minor chakras, which I would like to discuss as we go on. But once this is understood, I think we know how this can be related to physical, human, neuroanatomy, physiology, biochemistry and psychology. Now in this picture I have already shown sympathetic system. You can see 14 segments of vertebral column, T1 to L2, right, what is where you up to which, from which Equina starts is that particular segment, and there 14 into 2 is 28. Then you have 22 on either side and unite at the bottom. This is where the science, let's say L2, up to that is spinal cord, and below that is Equina, and between bottom is this particular thing is structure, and that is space which has to be broken. And this structure is definitely, according to Devyank alone, 45 divided by 28 is exactly 1.618334. Divine has everything according to Devyank. This is also a concept. And now books and this which were done before the modern science work are so precise, maybe much better than what we have done. We have confused it with diseases. We are talking about disease, but we are not talking about the perfect anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry and psychology. And I'm trying to rectify that. Now the same structure when it comes to Sat Chakra Nirupana is only 6 chakras, not 7 chakras. And this is where autonomic nervous system, you have 4 nerves in the cranial parasympathetic, 14 segments of the sympathetic and 3 segments sacral. Incidentally, 4 plus 14 plus 3 is again 21. When it goes beyond to the ventricle, the brain which I am talking about is the 22nd step. And that is again what Brahma is all about. It's amazing how they have done it and how I am sure to show with the evidence without any difficulty at all. Now 93 I had experienced chakras and 3 nadis by and large. 91 I had the experience of Kundalini awakening. 2 years I experienced Ida, Pingla, Sushumna Nadi and 10 chakras front, back as such, moving clockwise for energy and anti-clockwise reducing all that experience within the body, and this is based on that. Subsequent to that, in 1995, that is the time when this energy of Kundalini rose and dissolved the Brahm-Granthi, which you can see in this particular thing. And after that, that energy, our Kundalini, our Aditi entered into the ventricles of the brain, which is the fluid stage, and moved up to the ventricles of the brain, you can see. And that is the integration I'm talking about. That's the Patanjali Yoga Sutra Ashtanga Yoga is converted to 9th of Chakral Yoga, 1995. And 1995, I had the experience of Antar Yoga inside. 91, initiation, awareness. 93, Ida, Pingla, Sushumna Nadi and 10 chakras. And 95, Kundalini or Aditi getting into the ventricles and giving me the experience beautifully, step by step. And after that integration, after that only Akhand Yoga started. After that only I started producing alpha frequency with open eyes, which no one in the world has done it. I think this experience was required for me to see this is what Tantra Vidya is all about. Incidentally, yesterday was Raksha Bandhan Day. That is the day we celebrate Lord Shiva's day in Amarnath. And it is said, he said there are 108 verses, and these are the 108 verses which I am talking about. Now within that I have shown the Sushumna Nadi according to Sat Chakra, he is a Vani Nadi inside. Then you have Surya Nadi, you have Chandra Nadi, then Brahma Nadi, and that is internalization. Now I am bringing Brahma Nadi as such. Muladhara Chakra, Brahm-Granthi, the equinopian, and Nadi is the space, central canal, and that is within that. And this, when energy moves, and we're going to talk more about it in the next, when I talk about Swadhisthana Chakra, how testosterone is converted to estrogen and how the power comes. We'll talk more in detail how intelligence rises thereafter. Now comes the vertical, same structure as shown in the beginning. You can see the vertebral column, you can see the spaces, then you can see subdural space which is Vani Nadi, and the white matter which is ascending and descending tracts are exactly Surya Nadi. They carry information up, bring information down, and grey Nadi is the autonomic nervous system connected with the lateral horn cells where internal innervation takes place. But here again you can see in this picture there are 10 rex laminae for each, and I would say 10.34419 into 10.34419 is equivalent to 108 is also amazing story. Now Akash Kosh is a structure which when you are connected to particular ventricles, say, it gets connected with Akash Kosh with the space, and its found vibration is 7.83 hertz, which is ideal, and that is ideal connected with the earth element. Once you reach that level, the outer 3 layers of neocortex are the functions are not known to the neuroscientists of the world at all. They are ignorant. They know only the ascending tract, the Surya Nadi, ascending goes up to 4th level and come down to 4th level. Up to that they know. That is only very idiotic, or I would say insufficient. But these are the 3 outer layers of the new cortex which work as an antenna to the universal consciousness, connect with the Akash Kosh, which can give us the wisdom much higher than what is available on the earth in different forms, irrespective of whichever it is. But Akash Kosh gives you the knowledge what actually has happened in the universe from beginning till today, past, present and recorded. And Kundalini, with this rising to ventricle, activating this, give you that knowledge simultaneously in that, because you have the energy of that particular thing. That's why I say again and again, it is the sympathetic hormones which give you the power. They mobilize the energy, and don't be scared of that, because you tend to would have a little more heart rate and little blood pressure, but that is required to make you very dynamic. But control it, try to keep it as liquid as possible, and don't be scared of it, and don't let it increase to a stage that become hyperactivity and you start suffering, and world will put you in mental asylum and give you the drugs and make you vegetable. Unfortunately, all the genius people I know, they are finally put into mental asylum and killed with the drugs, ECT, etc. And my project, you should not. People should have the courage. This is normal, not abnormal. World is not going to accept it, because they cannot take that kind of energy, and they call all super intelligent people abnormal. That is where my objective is. Now, as I told you, 4th layer is goes up to and comes down. But outer 3 layers are like the antennas to get the information from higher consciousness. And that is where I have shown, with the closed eyes I can produce 8.5 hertz throughout the brain in all the 64 hertz. 8.5 hertz with closed eyes. With open eyes it is 8 hertz throughout the 64 particles, 32 this side, 30 the front, back, everything is exactly the same. And once that is done, you are in tune with the Akash Kosh and the universal consciousness. As a result, I can say IQ of the person would be based on all the 64 arts, not the IQ which we talk about it. IQ as we talk is shown to 100, 180 is genius. And whereas you can have 1,000, 5 times more than that by having this particular experience. But you should be very courageous, because you will have to go with loss of energy and not lose your balance. Don't become like lunatic and start showing that you are super. You are better human being. You are perfect human being. You believe that. Don't call you the supernatural and genius and other things and start calling others. You can, if you start calling everybody else ignorant, is much better than calling them below. They are learning, they haven't learned, and the system is not very clear, and that is also root cause. Now I am leaving behind the knowledge which is perfect. Now same people who did not have that, if they learn the knowledge which I am sharing with the world, perfect divine mathematics of Divyang, based on that perfect physics, chemistry and medical sciences, all will have 8 hertz frequency throughout the brain, be calm and quiet in a post-Turiya stage without any difficulty. Too much of this can be a problem for hyperexcitation and all maybe epilepsy, etc. or brain structures. Keep it normal to this, you'll never have any physical health problem at all. No emotional stability. That is what I'm saying. And I'm being conscious because for the last 30 years or 34 years I have done it. But I know slowly and steadily with this concentration, I am leading a much better health, wealth, wisdom and happiness. I absolutely nothing to require. All is given by nature within my body. Now with that, this particular picture has got all what I am talking about. You can see Ida, Pingla, Sushma Nadi, you can see Chandra Nadi, you can see Surya Nadi, you can see Brahm-Nadi, you can see the ventricles, you can see Atma there, you can see the everything, you can see the external light outside, internal light, entire universe is presented into this particular form. I think it's enough for the day. Thank you very much.